Queen Margaret's School, and confessing their sins for us this morning, we have the director of the Centre for Social Cohesion, Douglas Murray, Yorkshire MP and lay canon at Bradford Cathedral, Anne Cryer, Maajid Nawaz, the director of the Quilliam Foundation, and Britain's greatest ever Paralympian, winner of just 11 gold medals, Dame Tanni Grey-Thompson. Death for those who abandon the faith, apostasy. You believe that? How can you say that this is a tolerant religion?
Well, I think that one needs to appreciate that the word Islam is derived from the root word istislam, which means submission. Therefore, the Muslim is the one who submits entirely to the Sharia, the divine law of God. Hence, toleration is something which is, if you like, defined by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, God. Therefore, if something is in accordance with the Sharia, we tolerate it. If it is outside of the Sharia, we cannot tolerate it. Hence, for example, Islam will tolerate non-Muslims who live among the Muslims within the Sharia, under an Islamic state. Their life, wealth, their honor, their dignity will be protected. They will get the basic needs of food, clothing and shelter. But at the end of the day, we cannot tolerate adultery, fornication, we cannot tolerate apostasy, not because this is from our own whims and desires, but this is enshrined within the Quran and the Sunnah of the Messenger Muhammad.
So what should happen to an adulterer?
Well, the Messenger Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said that, as narrated in the Quran, that the one who commits adultery, he will be stoned to death, and the one who commits fornication, who is not married, they will get 100 lashes, and that will be done publicly. And for your information, if you look in the history of Islam, there were, for example, only about 60 reported rapes when the Sharia was implemented. There were only about 120 hands ever cut. So it is not only a harsh punishment which is fitting, but it is also a great deterrent within society, and it will rid society of many of the ills that we have. I believe that Britain would never be better than when the Sharia has been implemented.
Sorry, Anjem. First of all, your Arabic was wrong. The root word for Islam is not Istislam, it's Salima. I assume you don't speak Arabic. Secondly, it's not in the Quran that you have to stone to death. That's also wrong. I don't know where you learned Islam from, Anjem. It's probably from Umar Bakr Muhammad. But I'd just like to say that all religions...
Is there stuff in the book? Is it in the Quran?
All religions...
One second, let's see what it says.
I'd just like to say something here, that aside from his terrible Arabic, all religions are what their followers make them. And that depends upon the vast majority of the followers of a faith. Whether it's Christianity, Islam or Judaism. No one religion should be singled out to say that this particular religion is intolerant. In the medieval period, Pope Urban II launched the Crusades in the name of God. And today we have people like Anjem speaking the way he just did. I think the difference is that the problem today happens to be that many Muslims have subscribed to something we call Islamism, whereby they believe Islam is a political ideology that must be forced upon people probably the preference is the end of a sword.
Is he a real Muslim?
Well, can I just say,
a real Muslim?
Yes, I'm a Muslim.
You consider me a Muslim? In the Quran, Allah said, He said, whatever the Prophet brought, take it. Whatever he left, leave it. So everything is enshrined within the Quran, which is explained by the Sunnah of the Prophet's sayings, actions, consent. But can I just say that, you know, the lady there is not the only one from the Council of Ex-Muslims. Maajid Nawaz is a well-known sellout, and he's a non-Muslim, he's a Catholic. So I think that you need to have Muslims to talk about Islam.
What's the punishment? What's the punishment in hell? What's the punishment in hell?
You cannot ally with the American and the British establishment.
What's the punishment waiting for him? What's the punishment waiting for him in hell?
Well, he will be in the hellfire. But the point is that he needs to retake his shahada.
What would you do to me?
Let's talk in a minute about apostasy.
I'd rather make mistakes in my Arabic than leave the deen of al-Islam like Maajid Nawaz.
Now, Douglas Murray, is there a problem actually in the Holy Book, in the faith, or is the problem in some of those, like this gentleman, and their interpretation of it?
Well, we're very lucky that most Muslims don't think anything like Anjem Chowdhury, or we'd really be in trouble. Most Muslims, both in Britain and across the world, are law-abiding, decent people for whom their faith is an important part of their lives. However, there is an awkward thing about Islam, which is that Islam's religion, its founder, was a more violent man than, for instance, the founder of Christianity. I'd give you an example. I mean, if Christ, I'm not a Christian, but I have no truck in this thing, but if Christ had been a warrior, had killed people he captured, that Christianity's history would be even more violent than it has been. I'd give you one other example. When a woman is brought in adultery to Jesus, he says, he who's without sin casts the first stone. When Muhammad has a woman brought in adultery to him, he orders her to be stoned. This would be a very different outcome. Now, fortunately, as I say, there's no doubt about this, about the nature of Muhammad as a beginner of a religion. There's no doubt about that, but there is also no doubt about the fact, as I say, that most Muslims don't behave in that way. Because religion is open...
Sorry, Douglas, that's untrue. It's untrue. You've deliberately picked on one example, and that is Jesus Christ, the prophet of God. Before that, there were many other prophets that Christians also believe in, such as the prophets of the Old Testament, who launched wars, who were kings, King Solomon, King David. Hold on, Douglas, I'm making a point here, which is that prophets, during those times, some of them fought, some of them didn't fight, some of them it's disputed whether they fought. The point is that all religions are interpreted. We can't say here that Islam is one thing or another.
But Jesus' message was very clear. He never said to stone anyone to death, Jesus, did he?
I think it's disputed, even the fact that the Prophet Muhammad stoned people to death. That's not a fact. That's not a fact.
But yeah, you can in a minute. Harris Rafiq.
Yeah, just a couple of points. First of all...
Did the Prophet order people to be stoned to death?
Right, okay. That case itself was where the woman insisted that she had punishment. There was one case where the woman was stoned, and that was when she came to the Prophet Muhammad, peace upon him, and said, I have committed adultery. The Prophet, peace upon him, turned his face away. She asked him again, I've committed adultery. Only when she asked the third time for a punishment was the punishment insisted on. That is the only
Should he not have still said no?
I beg your pardon?
Should he not have still said no?
No, she insisted that she be punished. But coming back to the original point, in terms of Sharia, first of all, there is nothing in the British law that actually prevents me from practicing my faith. So there's no need for Sharia law in this country. And secondly, there's nothing. And secondly, the other thing is there is no compulsion in Islam. In terms of Anjum classifying myself or Maajid or anybody else as a non-Muslim,
Sharia, then maybe we could call you a Muslim.
Well, at the end of the day, there are three things that make up a Muslim: Islam and Iman. And from that we get the Sharia. There's the other thing that Anjum seems to be forgetting about. That is tasawwuf, the state of ihsan, being a better human being, worshipping your Lord as if you can see him. Because even if you can't, he can see you. That's how you treat your labours, the spirit of the Lord.
Okay, what is the problem? Mariam, you abandoned your faith. Mariam, you're an ex-Muslim.
I'm an atheist now, but I think this question is wrong, and this is exactly the reason why. The problem is you can find intolerance in every religion, including in Islam. But the reason Islam is such a focus today is because it is the banner of a political movement, and that's where we need to put the finger on. Anjum Chowdhury represents that political movement that actually, it's not a question of, oh, he's an intolerant man, we can just ignore him. The problem is that this movement makes laws, it actually stones people to death in the 21st century, it hangs 16-year-olds for acts incompatible with chastity. It denies women the right to divorce, to child custody. It imposes sexual apartheid on millions of people. We have to make a distinction between Muslims.
So it's not to do with Islam, it's to do with people like him.
It is. It's the political Islamic movement. And actually, the first victims and the first front of resistance against this movement are people who are either Muslims or being labelled as such. So he's the problem. The political Islamic movement is the problem.
The point that people say that you can be a gay Muslim, you can be a political Muslim, you can be a radical Muslim. There's only something called a Muslim. The Muslim is the one who practices religion and he believes in Islam and he accepts all religion. The other thing I would say is it's very rich of Douglas Murray to talk about a religion being the Islamic religion being violent when he believes in the occupation of Palestine. He's the one who supported the American government in their campaign in Iraq and Afghanistan.
So you are a very political animal, aren't you?
The point is Islam has something to say about everything in our life, including what people like Douglas Murray and the Salah Maajid Nawaz have to say.
Anne Cryer, frankly, the image problem that Islam has with some people in this country, is he actually the problem?
Yes, I'm afraid to say.
People like him.
Mr. Chowdhury is the problem, because I have 20% of my constituents are Muslims, and of those 20%, I would say the vast majority have very similar views to myself and other friends here today. They are tolerant, and they don't take the views of Mr. Chowdhury. Unfortunately, the ones with the biggest mouths in Keighley are the ones that get listened to, and I'm not even saying that they are like Mr. Chowdhury, but they do have fairly intolerant views of other people.